certainly doesn't love.
Since twin flames find one another again and again, lifetime after lifetime, how can a man or a woman prepare to find magnetism and enjoy the twin flame relationship?
You have to really get yourself into your best state ever. And it doesn't matter how old you are. You could be in your teens looking for your twin flame. You know, you could be at Burning Man and you could be 30 and decide you want to find your twin flame. You could be Gigi and my age. It doesn't matter. You just have to make sure that in the moment that you make this decision, that you are finding this twin flame, this partner, this divine, ecstatic love now. You have to get so serious about consciousness. All the areas of unconsciousness in your life need to go right out the window. Right out the window. And your relationship needs a bigger purpose. So you're also going to have to find a bigger purpose. And I don't mean taking care of your dog as much as I worshipped and adored my dog. It has to be a purpose. This is a divine relationship. So what is the contribution that you're going to make to the divine? What are you going to do for humanity? That makes it so much easier to find and retain your twin flame relationship.
I love that. Thank you for bringing up the divine and how important that connection is before we actually connect with others on any level.
That's right. That's right.
Now, is there any dark side to having a twin flame relationship?
Well, of course, it's tempting not to be around anybody else when your relationship is so exquisite and ecstatic, you know, and eventually you will have to come up for air. So I do recommend that you get in the habit of coming up for air regularly, even in the beginning, because you want to start to have that support of friends, relatives, activities, you know, because you'll need it later. The other potential dark side is the confusion about who is and who isn't your twin flame. You know, when it feels really, really good to you, that's not enough. This is a huge part of it, because you cannot be in your ego. If you decide, as I have many times in my life, thinking, okay, maybe that is the person, no, that's not the person. But you can't be some person who jumps away, runs out the back door, does drama, gets angry, gets sad, gets scared, do all this weird stuff. I see clients who do this. I see them and I talk to them and they still do it, and it always, always backfires in their face. But you can intelligently, intuitively, and lovingly investigate whether someone is your twin flame in all the different ways that we investigate whether a relationship is. And when you hear something that triggers you, then I want you to be sure you mastered my 6-part conversation so you can have a conversation that's peaceful and motivating, so that you can find out, not quiz somebody, not demand, not insist, not force, but sweetly, lovingly, with vulnerability, with charm, with sex appeal, with passion, with caring, and with commitment. Stand in your love and see who the other person is. That's what you must do.
Boy, a lot of devotion here, right? Now, what about enslavement? If you really believe that, let's say, someone is your destiny, and there's a huge possibility of feeling as if you have to behave a certain way, and that then you find out that actually they may not be your destiny at all.
But who are you enslaving yourself to? If you're being your best, if you're showing up in a conscious state at every moment, if you've left fear, anger, and sadness outside the door, if you've left knee-jerk reactive behaviors outside the door, then you are in love, you're showing who you are, you're showing up as your best self, you're conscious, you are presumably someone who's never appeared before. You've never been like this before because you've never been your best self and your true self before. And that, of course, is the healing property of love. The healing property of love is that when you are loved, when somebody sees you as this person you always believed you might be underneath all that stuff, doesn't it motivate you to get rid of all that stuff on top? Of course. That's the whole point. So being a lifelong learner, you've heard me talk about it often enough, is crucial. The only way to have a satisfying life is to commit yourself when you're very young to be a lifelong learner, because you're going to need it. As you get along the road, you're going to find some bumps and you're going to want to figure out what to do to avoid them.
Absolutely. Now, there is this statement our wonderful friend, Reverend Bernard Goodman, has made: him to you, or you to him, or he just appears. No chasing. Now, does this apply to twin flames?
Absolutely. No chasing, no pushing. That's what I would add. So you can't chase, because if you're chasing, that means there's no mutuality. You just sit and you envision. That's what I always find in relationships that works anyway. If I want somebody to contact me and it's important to me, then I imagine that person contacting me in whatever way I prefer. I do this with friends, I do this with clients, I do this with everybody. And it's a habit you really need. So if you don't have this habit, you want to email me and you want to get the information, you want to practice this habit. But there's no pushing, so chasing isn't going to work, and it's important. It has to unfold with a degree of mutuality and clarity that is undeniable and irrefutable, so that you know that is what this is.
Thank you, Susan. The time is just flying. I can see that it's actually time for a clip, and this is about secrets to successful long-term relationships. Please enjoy.
In real life, you have to be able to calm yourself down before you communicate with other people if you want life to be enjoyable. If you want to have your pick of the people who are alive, you have to have skills.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, this weekend I was down in Los Angeles traffic. I had plenty of opportunities to do the self-empathy, other than things that wouldn't be legal with other drivers on the road. So it takes practice, but it is something that is so joyful for our own health and well-being.
Yeah, and the health issue is another part that's so important. If you calm yourself down before speaking, you're going to cut your arguments in half. If you learn how to calm yourself down before speaking, and you also learn how to calm the other person down, you're now going to eliminate 97% of all the arguments you used to have. If you learn the whole 6-part conversation, including solution, how to motivate and inspire other people to the best solution that works for both of you or for anyone else involved, not only are you going to eliminate every single argument, but you're going to have many more of your needs met in life. And that money, career, love, friendship, where you live, who you live with, where you go on vacations, you name it. So the 6-part conversation isn't optional in my world, and certainly isn't in Gigi's either. You need to have these skills if you want to have the life you want to have.
Absolutely. Well worth all the practice to get to that place. Now, are there some solutions when we can really make a big difference in the relationship, and times when we cannot?
Yeah, sure. If you're not able to calm yourself down, you will not be able to turn things around. Or if you just don't want to be bothered, though no one can get me to fight if I don't want to. I am certainly not anyone that would be considered a punching bag. And my years of just giving in because I didn't want to argue with anybody are way behind me. So I make peace, and if the process of peace is taking much, 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 much too long, or if I assess that the person really is deeply disturbed, then I am going to disconnect. If the person is those things that I've just described, and I don't care to have this person in my life anymore because it's just too costly, then I might have an argument if I want to. I might. I'm not saying that I'm unable to. I'm saying the choice, the conscious choice I make, is it's not worth it to me. I mean, certainly road rage is a very dangerous thing for the person who's enraged. It's also dangerous for the rest of us. But it's mostly dangerous for the person who's in a rage because they're the one who's most likely to have a stroke or a heart disease. Boom, heart attack gone.
Another great reason to learn these skills,
You bet.
even if you want to just take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
Well, I know that let's say, creating peace is that process. So is there any way to know how long it takes to learn enough skills to really create a peaceful relationship with someone?
You know, it's like an equation. So it depends on your level of communication skills to begin with. Then there's also the point of how desperate you are. How desperate is the situation? So language skills, actors, salespeople are the quickest students in what I teach. And that's because salespeople are very skilled communicators, and actors are very skilled communicators, and actors are a joy because they're used to taking direction. You know, that's why Lisa and Mary Beth are such a joy. They're used to taking direction, so they'll go with the flow. If I say, well, you know, giving someone empathy in this situation, you know, I'd suggest that you do a little bit more of this, they'll go, oh, sure, and then they'll do it because they're used to that. They want to be more effective in their performances or in their lives. So the other part of it is desperation, right? So I once worked with a woman, actually, she used to live in Santa Barbara. She had gotten a horrible divorce. She had gotten a very bad settlement, and she had 3 very small children, and she did not have enough money coming in. She was working as a yoga teacher, and she had a husband who was very successful, and because of certain things in the court situation before I met her, her settlement arrangement was atrocious. And she only had enough money for 2 sessions. So 2 sessions plus the free one that I give. In 3 sessions, she was able to motivate and inspire her former husband to take a walk with her. During the walk, she was able to motivate and inspire him to agree to give her an additional $1,000 a month, which he agreed to do, and he did it for a long time. And about 2 years later, she came back to Santa Barbara and visited me, and I said, I'd love to hear how your skills are. And she said to me, what skills? So the message of this is, under an emergency situation, she was able to motivate and inspire her husband. She got the $1,000 a month more, but she never had skills. It's like cramming for an exam. And you know that in the fullness of time, with 3 children and with, and with all the things that happen in life, you know that she's, going to wish she had those skills. So please consider really carefully if you don't want to learn them and master them, so that you can, have the kind of life that Gigi and I each have.
Wonderful clip, Susan. And once again, highly informative.
Yes.
Well, now moving on, we have a lot of ground to cover and a little bit of time here.
Okay.
And so let's just say that once you find this amazing, miraculous person who is the man or the woman that you have dreamed about, I hate to say this, but can you ruin it? Oh, no.
This is such an interesting question, This is so interesting. Of course, you can make things very difficult for both of you. You can make things very difficult for yourself. That doesn't take too much work. And you can also make relationships difficult for people you love. More importantly, if you don't have the skills that we were talking about, the 6-part conversation skills, then it's almost impossible for any relationship to be completely smooth. Thank you, Fred, for putting that up on the screen. These skills change everything. So if you don't know them yet, if this is the first time you're watching this show, you really want to email me and you really want to get this. You really want to learn this.
Yes, I refer to this list of yours, Susan, daily. It helps me with clarity. And I'd also like to say Susan is the one that contributed in nonviolent communication, the self-empathy, I think the most important ingredient before we speak out. Thank you, dear. Now, how do you protect a very precious relationship?
Now, one of the most important things is you never gossip. You never gossip. Now, I don't mean that you are secretive. I don't mean that you don't share your joy and share your happiness. You never gossip. Gossip is negative words. So you can share your happiness with your friends because, boy, is it going to be inspiring for all of them. Boy, are they going to feel thrilled to know that if you found it and they think there's so much more together than you, then they could find it as well. And it's true, they can. So the danger is negative words. You know, people will say to me, and my mother doesn't like him. And I'll say, really, how many times did your mother meet him? Oh, she's never met him. So we know that the mother, if she doesn't like him, it's because of what the girlfriend said about him. So there's nothing about gossiping that is ever going to be beneficial. Now, the second thing is you don't want to talk about the relationship so much once it's happening, once it's stabilized, once it's real, that all of the life force goes out of it, just flies out the window. I see this a lot with people who have a transformation experience with a meditation master, with Howard Wills, with some divine connection. You can't keep talking about it because every time you talk about it, we know, every time you talk about something, you change it. That's a proven fact. And so if you want it to stay real and alive and powerful, you want to be really vigilant. Don't talk about it so much. So keep your own counsel.
Keep your cup filled up.
Yes.
Now, I know that you have said that for twin flames you can become they can become total bliss. I love that. But with a few bumps in the road, is that really possible?
Yeah, you know, life has bumps in the road. People may have a health issue. People may have a financial issue. A family member may have an issue. But imagine the joy of facing whatever you have to face when you have somebody who is your other self. And I don't just mean a biological twin. I don't even mean a Siamese twin, heaven forbid. But I mean somebody whose body, mind, and spirit are evolved in the same way that yours are evolved. That's a different thing. It must be wonderful to have a twin. It must be spectacular to have a twin, identical twin, because then they're psychically connected. But this is more even than that.
That's good to know too. There's hope for everybody. That's what's so fascinating. Now, how can letting your ego take over absolutely destroy a twin flame relationship?
Your ego can destroy everything. You know, your ego can destroy everything. If you don't like the way a day is going or an hour is going, you have to calm yourself down. You have to communicate with your partner in a loving way to discover what's going on with your partner, what changes we can both make in order to have a wonderful day. If you know anyone who does that, please send me their name. They deserve a prize. Because I've been teaching this now for about 19 years, and the only people I've ever met who can do this are people I've taught. And Marshall. That's about it. A couple of people who have taken Marshall's work, nonviolent communication, but really not most of them. So this is a skill level that allows us to create love. It allows us to stay in love. It allows us to generate more love. It allows us to have a level of compassion and caring and kindness and generosity of spirit, and I don't see this very much yet. It's an evolutionary stage that most people haven't risen to yet. So the problem you've got is somebody's going to say something you don't like, and you're going to think, oh, I can just snap at him because that's what I did in my last 7 relationships. And the truth is, you'll pay a heavy price, a heavy price. And it doesn't matter if you're a woman or you're a man, it has nothing to do with that. It's anger, temper, disconnection, precipitous disconnection, people who walk out of a room, people who slam down a phone, people who leave the bedroom. None of these things include a relationship. People who may not leave the bedroom but aren't physically present in the bedroom, aren't emotionally present there, aren't spiritually present there. You know, these are all the things that destroy every relationship. A twin flame has more resilience. You know, they're going to stick around longer. But they may, at some point, I know people who've said, you know, she just wasn't ready for me. And I'm not going to waste this whole lifetime hoping that she's going to wake up one day.
Perfectly said. Or he's not ready. Either way. I know you help clients actually find their twin flame, Susan, and you teach them how to protect and preserve the relationship. Please speak about that.
Well, the first thing about finding your twin flame is do not get distracted. If you want a great job, don't take a crummy job. You know, if you're looking for a great friend, don't settle for someone who's not a great friend. You know, you have to really be vigilant. How serious is this? I don't think there's anything more serious, frankly, neither does Gigi, but that's us. We're very lower right brain people. We're very heart-centered people. But if this is what you want, then this is your goal. You have to do a lot in order to reach goals. I teach goal-reaching skills. You have to be focused on it. You have to be committed. You have to be determined. You have to do every single thing you know how to do to make yourself ready for that twin flame. And then you have to do every single thing you can learn how to do to find that person or allow that person to find you. It is not enough to, quote, let it happen. I have heard so many crazy, crazy misinterpretations of a relationship that I had some time ago where people talked about it just, oh, you didn't do anything, which was as far from the truth as anything I can tell you. It's just that I've been practicing goal reaching for 40 years when I first started to do it, maybe longer. So now when I said, God, please bring me, very, very often that arrives. But that's not me doing nothing. That's not me sitting in a chair watching television. That's me doing the inner work that I want very much to teach you guys as well.
I must admit, I have pretty much a continuous conversation with God internally. I don't know who started it, but it's going on.
Yes, exactly, yes.
So for a couple, let's say, with twin flames, I would imagine that they would be most concerned to stay connected during and after death and return together. And I bet you know a way to do that.
There's a lot that is included in preparation for death. Preparation for death yourself. And if you are someone listening to this program who has a deep spiritual bent, then you definitely want me to teach you about this. You definitely want me to send you an email about it. Because about 10 days before death, the soul starts to enter what the Buddhists call the bardos. So you start to prepare for that journey. There are things you need to do as you are entering the bardos to prepare for where you're going to come out on the other end in your next lifetime. And of course, you need to have all these conversations with your partner, and you need to be doing this together so that you don't lose each other. It's very easy to lose yourself when you're out of the body traveling, you know, in all these exotic ways that you've never remembered doing before. So it's very, very important to make this a goal. And when you make something a goal, you change the way you think about it, that you change the actions you take, you do research, and it's certainly true about reincarnating with your twin flame.
That is so exciting. And I'm sure a lot of people are very happy to hear that. Now, how does experience twin flame create cellular rejuvenation?
Well, again, you have these bits of light in each cell in your body. When you are connected to the divine, the life force pours into you, depending on the quality of connection. Then when you are in a Shiva-Shakti relationship, yin-yang relationship, now the energy is flowing in you and to your partner and back again to the divine. The energy is coming from your divine into your partner, into you, back to the divine. You form a perfect circle. That's what doesn't work about relationships that are not monogamous. That's what doesn't work. If you are a divine being who is connected consciously to the divine, you wouldn't want to be in a non-monogamous relationship. But you also wouldn't keep dead wood around the house. You wouldn't be someone who says, oh, I gave my word and, I'm not supposed to do anything. And I did that for a couple of years with my second husband, and that was just ridiculous. That was just a level of, antiquated Puritanism on my part. I was just really confused. And you know my story, so you know it didn't pay off. Boy, did it not pay off. So it is about the living force of you and your partner who are a living entity, a living, breathing entity, connected to the divine and with bodies. So the divine life force comes in and cycles, and in and cycles, and in and cycles. And in Tantra, there are different breathing exercises that you can do that will allow you to enhance the divine breath and share the divine breath. And all of this deepens and intensifies the magnetism between you, the electricity between you, and the bliss that exists between you. And whether you're going to be like Sting and Trudy Styler, who are staying in that bliss for 8 hours, or you just want to be in that bliss for 15 minutes, it's still, in my experience, a greater bliss than anybody has ever experienced when they haven't learned, practiced, and mastered Tantra.
Thank you, Susan. I think everybody has an appetite to be able to learn this and enjoy it. I know I do.
I would have to say, if this show didn't excite you and make you want to run out and send me an email about these skills or run out and buy a book on Tantra, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
They just need a nap, maybe. Now, I would just like to say that if you have Susan's recipe for twin flames bliss, you can really experience a lifetime of joy, which we all want. And please remember that Susan really, really offers a wonderful 1 free hour session, so you really can't ask her anything. Believe me, she's heard it all. Right?
Yes.
For me alone. No.
Yes.
Now, a little bit about Susan. Susan Allan is a life coach, many other things going on here. Susan's website, heartspacesolutions.com, and her email, susan@susanallan.org. And you can go to youtube.com/SusanAllan2001. And the hot free phone number here, 805-695-8405.